Chair now recognizes Mr. Mfume from Maryland.
Thank you, Chairman Comer and Ranking Member Raskin. I want to thank the Administrator for being here today. And I want to associate my remarks with those of the Ranking Member, Mr. Raskin, in his opening statement. Madam Administrator, you've got a tough job. And I've tried to sit here and to listen to what you say and how you say it. And my gut tells me that you are a good person with a good heart who wants to do good things for your nation. I think that if there is a disconnect here, it might be the fact that you can't make everybody underneath you good people, even though we'd like for them to be that way because we take pride in our federal workforce, the fact that it is not a political workforce. Every now and then, there becomes a possibility where something terrible can happen. And we all know that 2024 has been a trying year for various agencies throughout the government dedicated like yours to protecting and providing for Americans of all walks of life. Your agency has done a good job in providing resources, at least what you have, I might add that, in very difficult situations in a number of different communities. That conclusion is not mine alone. It comes from governors, other members of Congress, mayors across the nation. That being said, I would be remiss if I did not, in a deliberately redundant way, go back and address this report of a FEMA employee who were allegedly foregoing visits to homes that had Trump signs displayed. Now, regardless of whether that employee was following a FEMA policy or not, it's a sad day, quite frankly, anytime. We've realized we've reached such a state in our government where people are making decisions based on their own partisan beliefs when they're in a nonpartisan role of providing service and providing it to everybody. And I must say that every disaster is not even a natural disaster. In my own city of Baltimore, we had a major bridge collapse, the Francis Scott Key Bridge. And we're still struggling to try to find a way to deal with that. And that's been since March 26 when it collapsed. The Port of Baltimore was forced to close, as you know. Longshoremen and longshorewomen were let go without work. Small businesses were impacted. We mourned the lives of those 6 persons who died on that bridge that night. And as we do in every disaster, we did not check to see which political party they favored. When the Small Business Administration, the Army Corps of Engineers, and the Coast Guard all stepped up, as they did repeatedly month after month, to do the tough work, nobody asked for a party registration or a voting card or a voting record. So we know that incidents like that are going to happen again. But what we, I think, have to be very firm in is our belief that emergencies should never have a party and that disasters ought never be partisan. I expect that we're going to work together on this. I would strongly suggest, though, that as I listen to the interview that journalist Roland Martin did with the person in question, I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out if, in fact, she was told by someone who is full-time, who may have taken an overreach in a disaster with a lot going on, to say, by the way, you can skip those homes. I don't know that she necessarily would have done it on her own. As you know from the interview, she's not a Democrat, she's not a registered Republican, and she did not even vote. So I'm still hoping that at some point in time, your request to the Inspector General will be taken seriously, and he will start to look at what's going on. We need facts in this committee more than anything else. And I'm going back to the comments of my colleague from Florida who mentioned the overall Department of Homeland Security and suggested that that is where the problem lies, because it's so massive and people are not doing what they ought to do when they ought to do it to ensure integrity. I'm going to meet with him later today on the floor because I want to know that. He's worked in that capacity, so he should know what he's talking about. So I would just hope that as we move forward here, to the extent that you can provide this committee and all the members of this committee with additional details, that would be helpful. I'd like very much to know what the IG's response to you is going to be. And I'd like to know at the conclusion of your own report, if you would be so kind as to share that with the chair and the ranking members so that members of this committee who are still really not knowing what to believe will have something more concrete that we can look at and make decisions on. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chair. I yield back.